We're back with another general update for some of the happenings for the sports teams in Ohio, starting with the Browns as their training camp is underway. We're actually only a little bit more than a week away from Browns football returning as they will play in the Hall of Fame game against the Jets on August 3rd. Now, the game itself will most likely be pretty terrible, as most preseason games are, especially the Hall of Fame game. Neither team are probably going to play their starters for any length of time. The playbooks are going to be just about as basic and boring as you would expect. And honestly, really the only reason to watch this with any sort of critical eye would be to see maybe some lower end of the roster players right now. Maybe they surprise in this game. I know the Browns have drafted a couple Ohio State guys and brought some Ohio State guys in from the undrafted free agent pool. Maybe those guys will probably get some time in the game. Maybe if you want to keep your eyes on them, see if they show any flashes of anything particular. Maybe that if that's your thing, then maybe you'll enjoy this game more than most people will. But most people, and me, you can lump me in with this group of people, only going to watch this game because it is technically NFL football. It is some official Browns football game that we'll watch, and then we'll complain about how terrible it is, even though we all know going into it that this is probably going to be a boring, lackluster game. Or who knows, maybe they'll mess up the paint on the turf again, and they won't even be able to play because it melts everywhere. I think that happened a couple or a few years ago. Either way, the Hall of Fame game, the Browns will be in it. Joe Thomas getting in the Hall of Fame, that's great and all that stuff, but to be quite honest, this game against the Jets probably going to be a snoozer. Now, with most of training camp press conferences, I think most of the answers are empty calories. However, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, linebacker for the Browns, he did have a pretty interesting answer that I thought about in regards to an injury I believe that occurred last season about his midfoot sprain, about how he decided not to have surgery on it because he says he felt fine. That is something that at this point I'll take his word for it, but it will be in the back of my mind as we get closer and closer to week one, where if he's going full speed and has to make a pivot, how is that foot going to hold up without surgery? JOK is also changing his number to 6, which is what he wore at Notre Dame, so good for him. I just wanted to make a little comment on JOK getting probably asked about that question, about that injury, and saying that, he felt like surgery wasn't necessary. And again, at this point, I believe him, but it is something that it will be creeping in the back of my mind as we get into regular season play. As far as major Browns update for training camp, none yet. Obviously, I'm not in Greenbrier, so I'll find out major Browns news just as soon as the rest of us do. And if anything major happens, I will be here to cover it. Moving on to baseball, both the Guardians and the Reds have fallen to second place in their divisions following the All-Star break, which I believe is the last time I really gave any general updates in the MLB for the Guardians and the Reds. Guardians are 4 games behind the Twins. Reds are a game and a half behind the Brewers, who they are currently playing in a series. Now, the Guards have taken 2 out of 3 from the Pirates and the Phillies lately, although they have lost their first of 3 against the Royals, so maybe some positive momentum building there, but they are going to have a pretty decent sustained stretch if they want to get as close as they were to in the lead or back in the lead from the Twins. The Reds have recovered from a 7-game losing streak that they went on by going on a 5-game winning streak. However, that was snapped by the Milwaukee Brewers in their first of 3 in the series. So if the Reds can take the next 2 games in the series, they can find themselves back in the lead of the NL Central. But either way, the Brewers and the Reds still locked in a race for that division. The Guardians are still in it in the AL Central, but they are further behind the Twins than the Reds are behind the Brewers. Moving on to the Crew. This isn't any new news, but I should mention it. Eloy Room and the Columbus Crew have mutually agreed to terminate Room's contract with the club. He had visa issues and injuries marring this season. He only gotten a few matches, and Patrick Schulte has done great in his absence. So he will be a part of the Crew's history forever, as he was the keeper for the team that won the 2020 MLS Cup. He played tremendously with his time with the Crew. Just somebody that obviously we're going to respect him as a member of the Crew no matter where he goes after this. The Crew have more recently transferred Dejanek to Red Star Belgrade of the Serbian First Division for an undisclosed fee. He expressed his desire to be closer to home, and the Crew have respected that desire. The Crew were in rough shape on defense and at center back before this happened, though, so this does leave the roster in a bit of a rough spot, in my opinion, as far as defending goes. I was heavily mistaken about their schedule when I did the recap of their match against the Timbers. My apologies for that. They will resume MLS play on August 20th against FC Cincinnati in the Hell is Real Derby. They are currently playing in the Leagues Cup, where they took down St. Louis 2-1 in their first match in the Leagues Cup. Goals from Cucho Hernandez and Zella Rayon. What else do you expect? Their next League Cup match is on the 31st. We're going to end this video off with a very minor Columbus Blue Jackets update. Tim Burney has rejected his qualifying offer. His time with the organization probably fairly close to being done. He was a fairly regular NHL presence on the team just due to the injuries last year. And again, he was an NHL regular on one of, if not the worst NHL defensive unit last season. Jarmo made some moves to acquire some better defensive talent, get some more guys to bolster that top four, likely squeezing him out of an NHL job, So hopefully he can find an organization that will give him another shot at the NHL level, because I highly doubt that will be with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So thank you all for watching the video. If you did make it this far into it, just a quick little update on some of the Ohio sports happenings. Leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you would like to see more like it. I will see you at the next one.